Well, good morning, Savannah, Georgia. It is a bright, sunshiny morning, and we're here this morning with the vulnerable community. I have with me this morning Miss Shirley James. She is the owner of the Tribune magazine, newspaper, I should say. We're here this morning to bring you information that's real important to the neighborhoods, the communities, and everywhere around Savannah, Georgia. So this morning we're not going to waste a whole lot of time, but we're going to get down to business and we're going to talk. Miss Shirley, would you please, ma'am, introduce yourself this morning?
Well, good morning. Thank you first, Mr. Jerome Irwin and A. Philip Randolph Institute for inviting me to come in this morning. I am Shirley James and publisher of the Savannah Tribune and also a member at St. Philip AME Church, where we are very active in the community, especially with voter education and voter engagement. And I take a lot of pride in working in that area to make sure that our community understands the importance of voting and what the power is in reference to their vote.
Yes, ma'am. Everybody around here now is worrying about the storm that's coming, but they don't realize that ain't the storm they should be worrying about because we got another storm coming. That's a storm that's going to hit the polls when everyone turn out to vote. Uh, we're just on the ending portion of a great holiday for us, and that was the March on Washington just happened. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it there, but what are your thoughts about the March on Washington and this year's event?
Well, I think it ended up being a very successful event. It definitely was a good reminder. And I think it was a point of education, especially for our young people. That march took place 60 years ago. I was in high school at the time and sort of forbidden from going to participate, but my eyes were glued on the television the whole time. And what I have found out just recently, maybe as recent as yesterday, is that there are some young people, college age now, who really didn't understand and don't understand the meaning of what that march was all about. And so it behooves me, and it definitely puts a lot of responsibility on us in our generation to make sure that we continue to tell the stories and help our young people to understand the history of the struggle. And it's sad, and I'm disappointed to think that I have lived through the struggle, and now we're in the struggle again, 60 years later, and it seems to be more prevalent and almost worse than it was back in the 60s.
You know, the funny part about that is they said there's a strange saying that goes around that said what goes around comes around. But a lot of our younger folk don't realize that although slavery, as they knew it then, ended, but slavery has not ended yet. We're still under economic slavery, and we're being held in a position where we do what they want be done, not what we want to do done. So it's time that we open their eyes if we can, and try to turn things around. It's people like us that work every day to try to make things right, and then people that sit back and say, "Well, it's status quo." You know, we can't live like that no more. We can't live like status quo. We've got to get out. We've got to move. We've got to go back to marching. We've got to go back to getting in the streets, going into the churches. We got to go everywhere now.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I try. I know that we are a weekly newspaper, but we try the best that we can to address certain issues that are affecting us. And there's so many. Like you mentioned, Mr. Jerome, there's a form of slavery now in reference to how we are treated, and different laws that have been passed that just keep us in a certain place. And we really need to have our voices heard, not only through the vote, but in our communities, when we're meeting in our community neighborhood associations, in our churches. We just need to speak up, because when you think about it and you listen, to what's happening, the kinds of things that are said in the news, these groups that have been organized now, I say from the other side, the side that's not necessarily working in our favor. There's a small group of people, but they have large voices, and it seems like they have a script that they're going around, from city to city, state to state, and it's just a few people making a lot of noise. But we can make the same. I call it noise. We can make the same kinds of statements. For instance, when I think about what's going on in our schools nationwide, with banning certain books because there are certain phrases or words that are used in books, and you have a few parents, sometimes there's just one, that makes a complaint, and based on that one parent's complaint, then our Black history and information and books that are written by our African American authors, these books are taken out of the schools. So we need to not just accept the status quo, as you were saying, but we have the same rights. When those bills are passed to say that parents have the right to see what's happening, or to know what's being taught in the classroom, we have that same right, and we need to speak up as parents and as persons who support our children. And we need to make the same kind of, I wouldn't call it noise. We just need to make the same kind of statements and be very public about it and get organized just as they are.
Well, I'm gonna say make noise, because empty wagon doesn't get any attention. But you make some noise, you're gonna get some attention.
Right.
And I would say we need to make noise, but we need to make good noise.
Yes.
We need to make good noise. As you say, things that are going on. I looked Saturday at Jacksonville, Florida.
Hmm.
Then again yesterday in North Carolina.
Yes.
You know, we have to look how systematically these things are happening. It's a program somewhere that's going on that we don't know anything about, but it's being programmed that they need to eradicate somebody, and they have it situated so that it will eradicate some of us.
Right.
You know, we were the target for Saturday's
Yes.
shooting. We
Yes.
were
And you go,
definitely the target.
you
Edward
go,
Waters was the target, but
yes.
thank God that he just didn't get there.
Very true. Very true. And then, I mean, you think about Edward Waters, you go back to Buffalo, it, like you said, there is a plan, there's a trajectory that's happening. And it's just, some kind of way we need to understand what's happening and where the attacks are, and that we are the targets. I've heard someone to say recently, and I think we even were able to publish an op-ed in the Savannah Tribune, that one way to kind of decimate or to destroy a people, and when you think about us as a people, is you take away their language, you take away their history. And when you think about those things that are happening in reference to that, you know, you don't give us the kinds of equality when it comes to access, to economic parity and to education and those kinds of things. But if there are certain things that you take away, and when you go back and look at history, that's how it happens. You separate the family. You think about all those things that happened during slavery, and they're still happening now in a more, well, I used to say it was subtle, but it's not subtle anymore.
No, it's
It's
not
not
subtle.
subtle anymore. No.
If you look back and you think about it, uh, you take a man's pride from him, you done took everything he has.
Yes.
And that's what they're trying to do with our people, take the pride away from us. And I think that we're too proud to let them take all of our pride. So
Right.
it's a few of us that's going to fight to hold on to what we know is our pride, our history, our legacies.
Hmm.
Uh, it has to go on.
Oh, yes.
Somebody has to tell the story, and it's people like you with your newspaper that's able to tell the story. That able to, we can get the word out. We can tell everybody about what's going on, but it's people that's not afraid. If you're afraid, you in the world, you in the wrong world because afraid you can't do nothing.
That's true. Fear can consume you and it'll slow you down, and it really will stop you from moving and stop you from speaking.
That's
But
right.
when you do speak and when you do move, do it as you speak truth, is what I'm saying. That's what I would like, because there's so much misinformation now that we have to combat. When you think about what's happening in the world of social media, and a lot of our young people rely on social media a lot. And I think it's getting to the point where no one understands and no one knows what truth really is anymore.
Well, social media was designed in order to actually take over because they captured the young folk mind with
Right.
social media, and that's all they know is social media. You go in anywhere you find them. They got the phones out. They can't do without a phone for 20 minutes.
Right.
If you had a 20-minute segment that couldn't have a phone, they would be about crazy because they got to constantly be on that phone or be on a laptop, be on some kind of a device, communicating over social media. Social media is good for some things, and we're using it right now. But we have to learn that we used to have encyclopedias.
Right.
we had to go dig to find
Had to
out what we
find,
wanted to know.
yeah, we had to search for the information and search for truth, search for fact.
We could, sometimes we'd be 2 weeks especially doing the term paper, two
Right.
weeks doing the term paper.
Very true.
Now they go in there, punch the button, and they got it done in 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing that we have to be aware of now is this artificial intelligence. You know,
Yes.
so
Yes.
there's a lot that we need to do to try and, I would say, educate our young people. One of the things that I find that's not happening, in our school system anymore, and even sometimes in other organizations where we work with young people, but we need to teach and what I call is critical thinking. So that's not happening in our school system anymore, where you get to weigh, you know, the things that you are taught, and you kind of weigh it to see, well, is this true? Is that true? Is this factual? We don't do that anymore. Well, I don't say we, because our generation probably does, but I don't think, because the young people want instant information, instant gratification, and they don't want to take the time to think critically. But I think we need to get back to some kind of way of teaching critical thinking. If it's not happening in our schools, then those of us who participate in organizations that work with young people, I think we need to begin to emphasize that more and to teach it.
You know, when we were coming up, they used to tell us about common sense.
Right.
And a lot of our younger folk, they've got common sense, but they don't use it.
Hmm.
You know, everyone has a little bit of common sense, but you got to use it.
That's true.
And I think that's what triggers a lot of the violence that we have, because they don't think before they do something. My great grandson came home the other day, and he had a paper that he wrote, and he had 92. The teacher gave him a 92 for it, and on the paper he had, "I must think before I speak,
Okay.
and I must think before my actions."
Okay.
And that, that made a whole lot of sense for him to have to say something like that. You know that somewhere down the line he was doing something that he wasn't supposed to do. And the teacher made him come back and sat down and write about what he's supposed to be doing.
Okay.
And this is where we have to go back and go back to doing things like that, dealing
Yeah,
with our kids and make them think about what they're going to do.
I think so.
You can't just stop and on the spare of a second, flip out and do something.
Yeah. Now, I do have to give our young people credit now. You know, it's just that I think they want things to happen a little bit faster. They don't want to put the effort and the labor and the struggle in it. We had to do it. We didn't have, all these different kinds of means of things that, to get information as quickly. Like you said, we had to dig in the encyclopedias, and sometimes that took a week or two to find out what we needed. They are smart. I mean, and they have advantages, of course, that we never had. But I just think that they need to understand where they have come from. You know, there are those of us who are still alive that have been in the struggle. And I don't know that our young people, we need to do a little bit more, or maybe a lot more, of what I call the intergenerational kinds of relationships. And a lot of times, if they just talk with their grandparents or the older persons in the neighborhood, if they would just take the time to do it and understand, because sometimes if you just understand one person's struggle, it will help you to understand, and will probably get your curiosity up to the point where you want to know more. So I think our young people, and some of the responsibilities is on us as well, that we need to take the time and reach out to them more and have these kind of conversations with them. Because I think that, like I said, they are our future now, and they have some intelligence and different kinds of advantages and things, and they can do and they can move and they can make things happen.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
I think that they just understand where they've come from and take that legacy with them so they can leave a legacy too, to say that I did this.
That is so true. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Uh, oh, hey, good morning. We right back to you. I'm holding two conversations at the same time. But Miss James, you said it just now. We have to go back to, and we sometimes the older folks have to take the time out to talk
Mhm.
to our younger folk
Yes.
because some of our older folk are afraid to talk to our younger folk. They're afraid to get into conversations with them because they're afraid that what they say that's going to offend them. You can't be afraid to talk, but you have to make a choice of your conversation.
Yes.
Uh, you know, and what a lot of our younger folk don't understand is the fact that they have a greater voice if they go to the polls and vote.
Right.
And that's what our show is about this morning. We got off on the good foot talking about other things, but we want to bring up the fact that hey, we need to get the people to the polls.
Yes.
There are so many issues that are at hand. We started talking about the shooting. All that can be avoided, not avoided, but it can be controlled
Mhm.
if we had the right people in the right offices
Right.
voting the right way to control gun violence.
Yes.
We can put people in the right seats to control our financial stability, and locally, nationally, and internationally.
Hmm.
So voting is something that we have to understand. We have to get people to understand how important it is, and that once you vote, you still can hold people that you put into office accountable for the things
Right.
that they do.
Right.
And
So
I'm
I
gonna let
think,
you talk about some of your voting stuff.
well, I mean, I'm thinking now in reference to the power of the vote. And as you said, that everybody needs to understand, and we can't be um, apathetic about it. A lot of times we'll get the message from somebody when we were trying to talk. Well, you know, does my vote count? Nothing has changed. But sometimes it's just that one vote that will put the person in office that you really need to be there. That will make the difference, and that could be your vote. If you think about your vote in that manner, that my one vote might be the vote that will tell the difference between this candidate winning and that one. And look at your candidates and look at what they have to offer, and how what their platforms are, how they affect you personally. A lot of times we don't think that our vote will count because the things that are happening to us personally have not changed, but they're not going to change if you don't use the power of your vote to help it change. And the way for that to happen is, yes, you got to vote, but you also have to, as you said, Mr. Jerome, when the persons get in office, you have to keep them accountable. So a lot of times everybody doesn't have time to attend, like school board meetings and things of that nature, but we do need to have more presence at school board meetings, at county commission meetings, at city council meetings. And there are a lot of commissions, that are appointed on the commission, on the county level and the city level, even going to election board meetings. These meetings are open to the public, and that's where the decisions are being made. And we need to be there to speak up and to hear and to listen and to understand what's going on. So it's not just voting, but we have to also be engaged. That's why when you and I work together, we talk about voter registration, yes, but there has to be voter education. And then we have to motivate voter engagement. And that means I vote. That's the first step. But I have to be engaged in what happens. And I need to go to my neighborhood association meetings, and speak up and say what it is that I need, what needs to be said, how things affect me. Now, we have an election coming up, a very special election is coming up on the 19th of September. It's just for a commission seat in the 2nd District. But for all of the persons who are listening on this podcast this morning, if you live in the 2nd District, and sometimes we don't know, but if the late Gator Rivers was your representative on the Chatham County Commission, then the person who's supposed to replace him, that's who you're voting for on September 19th. Now, early voting started yesterday. So that meant that, and that means that you can early vote between now and September 15th. Now, think how many days that is. I know the times may not necessarily be convenient for all of you who work, because there's only one location, which is the annex to the voter registration office on Eisenhower. But that annex is, the address is just kind of right around the corner. It's a separate building, but it's the same location. You can vote there on Mondays through Fridays from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. But we do have 2 opportunities for you to vote on Saturday. This coming Saturday, the 2nd of September, and then the following Saturday on the 9th of September. And same location, but you can go between the hours of 9 and 5. Now you got to think about it. Georgia Senate Bill 202 put a lot of restrictions on our vote. But because of the law, they have to extend the time on Saturdays, at least one Saturday in the state of Georgia, but thankfully Chatham County uses 2. So they have to offer that opportunity on a Saturday for you to vote. They have to do it for that period of time, so many days before the election. So that has to be done. And even on the 19th, there are probably about, Mr. Jerome, about 14 polls that will be open on that day. They have to open every poll. They can't just say that we're going to have 2 or 3 polls open in the 2nd District. All of them have to be open. So even if you miss early voting on the 19th, you can vote from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. But it's critical that you check your voting status and check your voting precinct. Now, if you're not able to do it, you see Mr. Jerome's, the A. Philip Randolph number that's coming across at the bottom of the station. You can call and get any kind of information or help that you need. You can call us at the Tribune. You can call my church. There are several organizations that are out there to help you get to the polls on either one of those days. But we need you to do that. They can help you check your voting status so that you'll know that you're still an active voter. You know that The Secretary of State's office was in the process of purging over 190,000 Georgia voters. And how many were in Chatham County, Mr. Jerome?
It was 11,832
In Chatham County.
in Chatham County.
In Chatham County alone. Again, there is a pause. They had to stop it. But that means in 2 years from now, they're going to do it again. And that same 11,000 that could have been purged this time will probably be added to another 11 or 12,000 to be looked at to be purged the next time. So you got to keep active. Make sure you're an active voter. If you change your name, if you got married and now have a new name, or if you divorced and went back to your maiden name, you have to make sure that that information is recorded with the voter registration office. If you change addresses, those are other things that will cause you sometimes to be purged. So you just have to be active in your voter status as much as you possibly can. And we'll talk about the absentee ballot vote too, because that's another hindrance, the way that it was put together. It's another way to keep us from voting.
Well, you said just a minute ago, and I was thinking about it. You said that the early voting has come up and it's already started, but we fought to have early voting so that people would not miss the polls.
Right.
That everything that we're doing now has been fought for.
Yes.
And we just got to put the fight to work.
Mm-hmm.
We can't sit back and don't fight. We have to put it to work.
Yeah.
People have to realize that if I can't get to the poll today, I can go tomorrow. If I can't go this week, I can go Saturday.
Right.
And get there and do what you have to do best. That's go to the poll and fight. Put your word out.
But yeah, and like you say, we have to act. We have to act on what we do. And if you can't go to the polls, the absentee ballot, even though it's a challenge to get it filled out, you don't have to be an elderly person or a disabled person to use an absentee ballot.
No.
A lot of times what we don't understand is our young people and, young parents and guardians of children, you're working, the kinds of hours where you can't get to the poll no matter what the hours are. But that's another vehicle that you can use is the absentee ballot. But you have to apply for that ballot. You have to apply for it. And then once you apply for that application, you got to fill it out. The way the application is put together now is 2 pages. And you have to fill it out very, very carefully and make sure that you fill out everything that's there. If you need help, again, you can call the A. Philip Randolph Institute. You can call our church office at 912-233-2083. You can call the Savannah Tribune. You can call the local branch of the NAACP. Step Up Savannah is there to help you. Deep Center. I mean, there's several organizations, even the League of Women Voters, that can help you through the process of filling out that application and make sure that you fill it out correctly. The glitch now is that you have to request, the voter has to request the application. The voter has to request the application, but you can call the voter registration office and have them send it to you. If you need transportation for some of us to take you there to get the application, and you can fill it out right there while you're there and let them process it. You can get a copy of it, download it. And again, there's so many of us that we don't have access to computers, etc. But call Mr. Jerome's office, call our church, call your own church, and let them help you, or an organization that you belong to, and let them help you download the application, get it filled out, and then you can either email it back, and there's an address where you email it back, or you can fax it back in. But there are, even though I call it a challenge with this absentee ballot now, there are still ways that you can obtain it and get it back. My message is, and when you read the Tribune this week, we're suggesting that you request that application and try and get it back in by this Friday, which is the 1st of September. And I say that because if you're going to use the mail, we have a holiday on Monday, so you got Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, there will be no mail running or being processed. And you have to think about that as well. The mail is slow anyway because our mail goes to Jacksonville and then comes back to Savannah. So we try to encourage you to call one of these organizations that's out there to help you so that you can deal with the absentee ballot in person and not depend on mail.
I agree wholeheartedly with you. Sometimes we just have to make a step on our own.
Mm-hmm.
If we make the first step, there's plenty of people to help us, but we got to make the first step.
Right.
We have some seniors that can't get out, and we don't mind going door to door to help people.
Right.
But you got to let us know who you are. We can't just guess who you are.
No.
And let us know, and we will be there to help you. We have, like we said, the offices here at 714 MLK Boulevard, and we're here most of the time, every day, sometime during the day, mostly between 9 and 2. And we're here. We can help anybody do anything they want to do, just about anything they want to do. Let's change that before I say that. But as far as it's concerning voter registration, we can help you with that. We need to get our people situated to understand the fact that the more we vote, the more we can get.
Yes.
Because if we don't vote, the less we're gonna get. Because
That's
we know
true.
they're gonna get what they're gonna do what they want to do. But
Right.
when we get we put the right people in the right places, then we got it all. We got it made. Then we don't have it made, but we can move some mountains.
But you can move some mountains. And the other thing too, in reference to making sure that we vote, and I want to go back to that absentee ballot very quickly, because anybody who is disabled or age 65 or over, if they are part of the, in the military, there's a section on that application, section 12, and you need to fill that out. Now, the thing that I say about that application, it asks you if you want to opt in to have your ballot, to have the ballot sent to you during an election cycle. Now, an election cycle is the election itself, and if there's a runoff, that's a part of that cycle. So if you are in any of those categories, then you need to do what they call as opt-in. Now, that to me was a term that we're not familiar with.
Right.
Okay, so that was one of the things on the application that can deter you, because if you don't understand what opt-in means, you're just going to overlook it. But opt-in means that they could have asked a simple question: do you want your ballot sent to you if there's a runoff? That was all it had to put on there, but they didn't do it that way. Okay,
they call that playing with words.
Playing with words, and playing with words. But anyway, for those persons, make sure you look at section 12 and fill that out. And that would just mean that if you voted by absentee ballot and you are either age 65 or over or disabled, then you don't have to fill out the application again for the runoff. Now, if you're under age 65 and you don't meet either one of those qualifications, if there's a runoff, you have to apply for the absentee ballot again. Now, think about that. Why is that? To keep you from going back if there's a runoff. So there are just so many things on this application, But what I have to say about our people in terms of the resources and our determination, and every time we show up in big numbers, there's a law that's passed the very next time. We have a way of showing that we don't care what you do. And we have to continue to act that we're going to vote.
I agree with you on that.
We're going to vote, but we have overcome those obstacles every time. And we got to continue to do it.
All right, we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back. Right there, this is you walk out the door and turn right there. Yeah, well, we are back again. I had a young man come into my office just now. We're going to have a meeting at 12 o'clock today, and it's about the Hyundai plant. You know, we talk about economics and doing what we can do to encourage economics, but we also got to make sure that our people get the jobs that are being presented. So that's what one of our meetings is going to be about today. But back to voting. I have been voting since I was 18 years old, and that's been a mighty long time ago.
Yeah.
And you know, I've never missed an election.
I know.
And the thing is, I take pride in being able to cast my ballot.
Mhm.
When I think about all the people that died, people that have been beat up, people like John Lewis got his skull cracked, and I don't know whether you ever fell down, but to hit your head is one thing, but to have your skull cracked,
Right.
it's another.
Yeah.
To have somebody hit you with such a force to crack your skull, walk down the streets and march down the streets to have the right to vote. They turn the fire hose on you. They turn the dogs loose on you. The young folk now didn't have to go through that, so they think that they have it made. Folk, take it from me, you haven't even begun to arrive yet.
That's true.
You're
That's
still sitting at the starting gate. There's so many things that we can accomplish if we just do what we're supposed to do.
Mhm.
And do it the way we're supposed to do it.
Right.
We can make tremendous leaps and bounds and make a difference in the way that we are being treated.
Right.
People say that well, they treat me like this, and I'm good. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I had a young man tell me the other day, my boss said I don't need to vote. I got so mad I had to stick my hands in my pocket. Where in this day and time did your boss tell you you don't need to vote?
Wow.
Your boss should be telling you to go to the poll to vote.
Mhm.
Because sometimes everything that you're voting for isn't against your company. Sometimes you're voting to help the company.
Right.
But you just have to take the time to look and see. We have to educate, and Miss Shirley, you and I and several others here in Savannah, in Chatham County, have been doing the job of trying to educate. And what people don't understand a lot about educating people is you got to tell them from where they come to where they at to
Mhm.
where they're going.
Right.
And then you got to tell them everything that's in between so they can understand how they got from point A to point B to get to point C.
Mhm.
And then while you telling them that, if their mind go off to the right side for a second, then the left side done forgot what's on the right side. So then you got to keep telling them,
Yeah,
and you got to teach and continue to teach. And we can't stop teaching. We have to keep going.
that's true.
And I applaud uh, the Tribune for being there for our community because you tell a story, and I've been paying attention. You tell a story, a different story each week. There's a different story in there that be told that we should be paying attention to.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, we try, and the other thing is we try to uplift our people in our community too, with the stories that we tell in the news that we report in the Tribune. Because I don't think you get too much of that anywhere else in print media right now. You know, and it's a struggle for us who are a part of what we call part of the organization, the National Newspaper Publishers Association, which is comprised of African American owned and operated newspapers throughout the country. So that's a big challenge for us, but at least we're still alive. The black press has been in operation for about 190 years. 190 years when you think about it. And through the struggles, through Reconstruction, I mean, we've been around. And so a lot of times, sometimes in reference to news that's important to the African American community and the black community, that's one of the places where you'll get some of the information from and get the news from, and hopefully, get some motivation too, and have a sense of pride in some of the things that are happening in our community, with our young people, especially, and with our elders, and with everybody. Um, so, we'll try to continue what we're doing at the Tribune, but I do want, like you said, Mr. Jerome, let us act on the power of the vote, because that one vote, your one vote, will make a big difference in what happens to you. And there are a lot of issues, and I know we don't have time to talk about them, but there are certain things that are happening that you need to be concerned about, and we could have another show, another podcast on the Medicaid situation, because
Right,
there's so
right.
many of our recipients of Medicaid, our parents and our children, that are vulnerable now to losing that coverage. And a lot of you don't understand it, but that's another show that we need to talk about. So you make
Well,
sure that you continue to receive your Medicaid and
we're
Peach
gonna
Care.
have that show now. We're gonna have
Okay.
that show. It's around that you think that you when you think about it because our people are in need,
Yes.
and without the proper representation, they can't get the benefits that they're supposed to have.
Right.
That's another reason why it's so important to vote,
To vote.
to have the proper representation that we need in order to uh, get the benefits that our people should have.
Right.
Our seniors go lacking a whole lot.
Right.
I don't know. Well, I know you know. I don't know how many people know about the Stillwell Towers. You know,
Mhm.
that's another place that's been lacking for a long time. We got people up there 13 floors up and can't get and don't have an elevator. Didn't have an elevator. It was pathetic.
Mhm.
People 80, 90 years old trying to come up and down steps. It's pathetic. That's why we have to put the right people in the right office. We have to get
Mhm.
people in office that help get our homeless people off the street.
Right.
There's so many buildings empty in the city of Savannah that we could, with the right help and the right people in the right places, we could put people, get people off the street.
Mhm.
They're trying with the little tiny village with the helping the veterans, but we got so many people out there that are not veterans.
Right.
So there's help to be. We need help, and we got to put the people there to do the helping for us.
Right.
And when we put them in these places, the one thing that I always say, you can't forget what they promised you. If they run for city council, they run for Chatham County Commission, they run for state office, you got to remember they only got one voice. But if we stand behind them and push them hard enough, people see us behind them that they will get something done because they say, well, they got somebody behind them. They talking about votes over there.
Mhm.
And when you start talking about votes and counting votes, people pay attention to you.
That's true. Very true.
I'm gonna give you about 3 minutes, Miss James, to do your final statement. Okay.
Okay. Well, my final statement is just, especially right now, I want to target my statement to residents in the second district of Chatham County to make sure that you go and exercise that power to vote. There are four candidates running for the office. Find out, if you don't already know, who those four candidates are, and make sure that you vote for the one that you think and that you know will take care of the kinds of things that you want to help you. Think about you and your family. Please, please, please go out and vote. If you're not able to physically go and vote, then make sure you take the opportunity to use the absentee ballot. And young people, you can use it too. 18 and over, you may be in school, you may be in college, you may be away from Savannah, Chatham County, but you live in that district. Use that absentee ballot. For those of you who are working, and some of you, you have your own businesses and you don't have the time to take off to vote, but you can cast your vote and have your voice made known through that absentee ballot. You need some help filling it out, make sure you contact us, because if it's not filled out correctly, it will not be processed and you will not get another ballot in the mail. You have to put the application in order to get the ballot. And then the ballot, once you get it, it has to be in the voter registration's office by the 19th, which is voting day, by 7 p.m. It cannot, if you're mailing it, it's not postmarked by that date, it will not count. It has to be in that office by that time. So again, if you need transportation to get your absentee ballot, once you get it in or to get that application, make sure you contact us and we'll help you get it filled out. We'll get you there. But that's right now what's most important. Let's get the September 19th special election done. And then we need to start concentrating on, if we haven't already started concentrating, on a municipal election that will happen on November the 7th. So my thing is, let's act on the power that you have to vote, and please utilize it and take advantage of it. And it's for you. It's for you.
Well, y'all, we're glad to have y'all this morning. We're glad to be on the show this morning. What we see that we had several visitors on with us this morning, but we're glad to have everybody listening on us this morning. Uh, we will be back next week. We will talk about uh, some other very important business in the city of Savannah with our seniors and everybody else. Chris, I've got a couple of people that just came in my office. Y'all come back here a minute. I want y'all to see these two young men. They come to visit.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Hello.
They're from Georgia AFL and the Savannah Regional Central Labor Council. We're fixing to go downstairs and have a meeting, but we're going to be talking about the Hyundai plant. So we'll be talking, and we let y'all know what goes on there. And y'all have a blessed day. We'll talk to y'all, and everybody stay safe in the storm.
Yes.
Back down the hatches and stay out of the rain.
Absolutely.
Stay dry. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
I like that.